I'm Susan Davis. I'm from the class of 1986. If you do the math, that was 3 years before the school went co-ed again, which gave me a very different kind of Deerfield experience. At the time, there wasn't really the consciousness in the popular culture or anywhere about transsexual and transgendered people at all, and so I thought I had no options. And in fact, that's how I landed at Deerfield. I thought that single-sex environment would be the best place for me to learn how to get on. If I were stuck having to be male, this would be where I would learn it. My best friend was also very active in Stop Nuclear War, and I had a really big crush on him, and I didn't really have a whole lot of consciousness at the time that that's what it was. Deerfield, back before it went co-ed, had such a culture of almost defensive homophobia. Everybody else in New England, because Deerfield was one of the last, and in fact the most prominent of the last single-sex schools, kept suggesting that to go to Deerfield you must be gay, and so there was a great there's an enormous culture of homophobia on campus. I didn't just have a closet, I had a fallout shelter with an armored door and guards with machine guns in front of it, and it took me the better part of 10 years after I left to really really be able to be out at all. So anyway, the two of us were at the very least very great friends, and one Friday night, John decided that he needed to. There was this girl that he was sweet on. She lived in Amherst, and we had bicycles, and it was Friday night, and so we decided that we would bicycle down to Amherst to go see Sarah. And I was a little bit paranoid about this because, you know, at that point getting busted for being off campus again really would have had some very negative consequences. But you know, the two of us were pretty inseparable, and yeah, so I decided, you know, what the hell. I was living in POC 1 at the time, and the fire escape door at the far end of the corridor wasn't alarmed at that point. So we were able to, really any time of day or night that we wanted to get in and out, we could just go right through the fire escape door. And so we did, and I got up onto my borrowed bike. We very quietly bicycled around the end of the dorm so the quartermaster wouldn't hear, and then off into the fields. It was just beautiful. It was a beautiful night, a beautiful starry night. There weren't crickets, but there was some other type of bug that was making noises, and the birds hadn't gone quite to sleep yet. It got very quiet as we got away from Deerfield, and so we went all the way down the end of the South Meadows, met up with 5 and 10, and got all the way down to South Deerfield. It was a very long ride, and eventually we got to Amherst. And when we got to Sarah's house, he actually managed to do the thing with the pebbles to actually get her attention from her window without waking her parents up, and she was completely poleaxed that we had actually turned up, and thought it was a little bit extravagant that we had done this, and she had actually been asleep as well. It was at least 2:30 by this point, and so we sat around and chatted for a little while, and we turned around and headed back to Deerfield. By the time we passed South Deerfield and made the turn off into the South Meadows again, it was starting to get light out, and now we were starting to get a little bit scared. scared that we wouldn't make it back before our quartermaster woke up, and that they would know that we'd been out the whole time. So we started to pedal a little faster, and I started to feel really great. We'd been exercising a lot. The sun was coming up, and just the sun, and there was some fog over the South Meadows, and it was one of the most beautiful physical sights that I remember from my whole time here. And we got back to the dorm right as the sun was coming up, and fortunately it was Saturday, so we slept through a good chunk of Saturday, and all was well.